This phone saved Google's Pixel line of smartphones, and it isn't even considered the best in the series. So get comfy and let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and you should definitely get subscribed, by the way, because our Pixel 9 Pro in-depth review and comparisons are coming very soon. Anyway, the Pixel A series is Google's mid-range smartphone line that's ultimately designed to serve the Pixel camera experience to as many people as possible, to give people the taste of what the Pixel can do. The gateway Pixel, if you will. See, the first three Pixels actually didn't sell all that great compared to the Samsungs and iPhones of the world. They burst onto the scene with flagship level hardware and flagship level pricing. The headline feature, the camera. Sure, the software was pretty great, but this was before any kind of AI trickery like Top Shot, AI Eraser, Gemini, and even features like astrophotography would come later in the line. The mainstream really didn't care all that much about the clean stock Android versions, and this is clear as day when you consider just how many people bought the S3 and the Galaxy S4 with TouchWiz. No, it was all about the camera, and in particular the HDR processing pipeline. Remember how old phone photos always kind of looked washed out, whether that be in the highlights, the shadows, or both in a lot of cases? You could always look at a photo and go, yep, that's a smartphone photo. Google's HDR Plus took regular images from regular old camera sensors and using software processing boosted the dynamic range by expelling those blown out highlights and crushed shadows to give scenes far more detail across the spectrum. And it's what the Google Pixel's impressive camera is really built on. But the cheapest Pixel released at this stage was $650, which isn't exactly cheap. Coughing up iPhone levels of money for an unproven Pixel brand phone was a steep one for a lot of people. Smartphone buyers were still mostly picking up Samsung, LG and Apple phones. So then, at Google I/O back in 2019, Google unveiled this.
I want to introduce you to the newest members of the Pixel family, Google Pixel 3a and 3a XL, designed to deliver premium features at a price people will love. They start at just $399. It's about half the price of typical flagship phones.
The Pixel 3a and XL models were designed to bring that impressive Google HDR Plus Pixel camera experience to as many people as possible. After all, that was the thing that made the full-fat Pixels all that exciting at the time. And not only was there a hole in the mid-range market, at least over in the US, for something a little more complete from a software point of view, but those who wanted to try Google's latest brand of smartphones wouldn't have to commit to spending over $600 for that privilege. And reports surfaced that the 3a helped Google sell far more devices than it did before the A series initially came out. Not only making the Pixel as a product more viable from a business standpoint, but also giving the company the message that the mid-range Pixel was a good idea, and it made sense. The consensus around Google's Pixel 3a was clear. This was a competitive mid-ranger with a camera that transcended the market segment. Its contemporaries from the likes of Samsung, Xiaomi and Realme just couldn't keep up with their far inferior software processing in the camera department. And the Pixel 3a was named many people's best phone of that year. It seemed like everyone was in agreement that this was the new king of the mid-range market. It looked like a Pixel, it felt like a Pixel, it took photos like a Pixel, and had all the software benefits of those pricier Google phones too. In fact, speaking of, this is the new Pixel 9 Pro. Review coming soon, by the way, so again, hit subscribe for that. And I, just for fun, took them both out and took some photos with them. The same ones, just to see if there'd be a massive difference, because after all, $100 Pixel versus $1,000 Pixel? Sounds pretty interesting if you ask me. And you know what's even more interesting than that? The results. I haven't edited these at all, they're all straight out of the camera, and depending on your personal taste, there's actually probably a case to be made for either side to have the better cameras, if I'm honest. There's heaps of detail, sharpness, dynamic range across the scenes for both. The 3a does look the more processed, which some might love and some might hate. The 9 Pro definitely looks the more natural of the two, but also looks the flattest as a result. The weather was typically British here, so the light was very, very flat anyway, making the 9 Pro definitely the more accurate of the two. Sure, you can zoom in heaps with your new telephoto camera on your Pixel 9 Pro, just like you can zoom all the way out and use the ultra-wide, both of which aren't available on the single-cameraed Pixel 3a, but quality-wise, there's not a ginormous jump day to day, which is even more insane when you consider that there is a big difference in camera sensor size between these two. And it's not because this is running Android 14 and therefore has the same software processing going on. No, that's on Android 14, this is on Android 12. Let me know what you think of this camera comparison in the comments, because it's one I didn't expect to actually make, but I'm actually kind of shocked with the results. But that just goes to show just how good the 3a's camera was back then, and even is today. It was the star of the show, which makes all more sense when you consider the rest of the device. See, Google clearly cut some corners here, which by the way is totally to be expected and completely reasonable. Definitely didn't destroy the experience whatsoever. But looking back, seeing how jarring these forced rounded corners were on the screen, this is something that always bugged me when this phone came out. And while the Snapdragon 670 mid-range SoC was relatively quick, performance was still one of the main areas of criticism, where many of the contemporaries had it beaten on pure performance. Google was heavily relying on its software to do the heavy lifting here. But despite these weaker areas, the 3a did have a lot going for it. The 1080p OLED displays on both models were really solid. They both came with headphone ports, where Google had already abandoned the analog audio output on its main Pixels. And despite the 3a being made of plastic, the phone felt almost exactly like the Pixel 3 XL. It was really pleasing, it's really thin, it's really light, feels very solid in the hand. And even the glossy matte two-tone back and accented power button were here from the mainline Pixels too, and it helped it fit in and not feel like a toy or a majorly cut down or compromised unit compared to the more expensive models. Since the 3a, Google has released heaps of A-series successors, some good and some not so good. I personally really like the 7a, I think it's one of the better ones, and a phone that I chose to daily over much more premium smartphones for a long time. The 4a 5G was also a bit of a steal when you consider what mainline Pixel came out of that year. But the overall mission statement seems to have remained the same over the course of the A line's life. Get the Pixel experience, especially that camera, in as many people's hands as possible. And while we as a community didn't find the 8A to be all that inspiring, it at least does that camera thing. But with all the new software features that utilize AI to augment images or use photos in context, with apps like Gemini, all while giving you the way longer software support that you'd usually have to buy the full fat Pixel for. The 3a is held up really well, and the fact you can pick one of these up for under $100 on eBay might make it the ultra budget champion, especially since you can find Android 14 ROMs for this online, taking it into 2024 and making it more compatible with your favorite apps. Sure, the battery life could be pretty weak depending on the model and how it's been treated in its previous life, and if you buy used, you're almost certainly going to get one with a few scratches on it. It's made of plastic after all. But you can't really complain for under $100. It goes under the radar with truly great mainline models like the 2XL, the 6 Pro, and what looks to be an excellent 9 Pro by the way. But the Pixel 3a is the phone that saved the Pixel line and put the series on the map for the world to see. Let me know what you think of the Pixel 3a, guys. Did you have one? I, for a brief moment in time, rocked the 3a XL, which I did quite enjoy. And I've always looked forward to seeing the A series and what Google can offer on more of a budget. While you're down there debating in the comments, hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload. I've been Ryan Thomas, and I'll catch you later. Cheers.